asked if I would want to do a couple covers, so they let me do the cover for the Oni Press variant of Volume 6, and I just did the cover for issue 44. So they kind of just let you go buck wild with the variant covers, which is really fun.
They don't care.
They don't
care what we do. Because they know no one even looks at the cover when they buy it. They don't care. Hey, show of hands, does anyone care? Yeah, see, no. Oh, okay, people care. I'm sorry, I walked this completely back. And we'd like to show some of your covers up right now. Awesome.
Power of imagination.
So, and if I may say, you transitioned from doing some work in the comics into a job, Megan, on the actual movie that happened.
On the movie, yeah. So, working on the comics was one of my first jobs, breaking into professional art. I had met Aaron at Comic-Con, like my first Comic-Con, like 2008 or something like that. And he said that I would be a great fit for inking, because I guess he didn't want to ink his own art, which is fair. So they brought me on board, and then after the Zim comics had finished, I was going to school for animation, so I wanted to be a storyboard artist. So after the comics, I wound up storyboarding for the Lego movie sequel, and by the time that had wrapped up, Enter the Florpus was starting up, and I just reached out to Jonan and said, hey, I'm available, I failed to work on this movie, and he's just like, that's fine, I guess.
Did you have to kill anyone?
No, I didn't have to kill anyone.
Yay.
That's great.
If you had to kill anybody, would you be allowed to say so?
Yeah.
I could say yes, but not who.
It's fair enough. So here's what I'd like to do since our presentation doesn't exist. I'm going to open the floor to a couple of questions, and then we're going to call up Jonan and irritate him.
Yay.
So if anyone has any questions about either the comics or the show we can't talk about, please go up to the microphone, and we may demand that you say something about the comic. I'm looking up Jonah's number right now. No, you can't have it.
Don't touch the mic. Sorry, thank you.
Did you touch the mic? Did you put your face on the mic? Did you see that series Chernobyl? You know what happens when you put your face on that mic? It's like when you hug a Russian fireman who's been radioactive. Hello, what is your name?
Hello, my name is Sheila, and I apologize for touching the mic.
It's okay.
You're forgiven.
You get one chance, it's cool.
The mic forgives you.
I was just wondering about what it was like to go from either working on the show or being a fan of it and going into the comics and getting to play with the characters in a different way. Like Gaz in particular, I think is a lot different and, in my opinion, better in the comics than in the show. And what was the difference?
What was that like? It was exactly like embracing Gaz, like a big hug. No, I'll answer the Gaz question. I'll speak to the Gaz issue really quickly here, if I may. Jonan made a point, actually, when he started the comics, is that he wanted Gaz and Dib to be have a little bit more of a brother-sister relationship, as opposed to just the open hostility and disdain that existed in the series. He kind of wanted to address the fact that yes, they were family, and even though they were constantly getting on each other's nerves, they weren't, they didn't want each other dead necessarily. So the Gaz change was a deliberate thing on Jonan's part. For me, it was shocking how much, when I started doing the comics, it was kind of just like writing stuff for the series again. How I could do basically about as much material is in a comic as in an 11-minute episode. And to make it even easier, like the first few issues Jonan wrote were in screenplay format because he didn't feel like writing the panels out at the time. I mean, he does his own comics. He doesn't write a script for himself. He just sits down and does his own comics. So, writing it for someone else to do is not something he wants to do. So, and we've done some technically lost episodes of the show have turned up in the comic strip. So, if you saw the Pants issue, or if you saw the Burrito King issue, both of those were lost episodes of the show. Episodes we pitched and never got into production. So for me, it was like stepping into a warm, happy thing. Sam?
Well, like I said, it was interesting for me. By the time I came onto the book, I was, a fan of the old show, but also like the comic had been running for about 20 issues or so before I turned my first script. So I kind of read like what you were doing with the book now, and kind of like the slight sort of updates to like the tone of the characterization and stuff.
And he was horrified.
It was just like I gotta retcon all this. Yeah. No, it was great. I liked it, and it was like really fun to step into it, and just I guess like when I started. Like my first 3 issues that I wrote, my thinking was like I wanted to try and write like my 3 favorite kinds of stories from the show. I wrote my first issue was like a very like high concept science fiction thing, like with a lot of dumb science fiction rules about like time travel and stuff. My second issue was just like extremely like stupid. That was the Mr. Reader-Face one. And the third one I wanted to write something that was like kind of scary because I always liked the handful of episodes that were like from Dib's perspective, where Zim was actually sort of depicted like as a kind of frightening alien entity, like the Dark Harvest or something like that. So that was the one I did where they were brothers. And it was very unsettling. And then I'd done the 3 ideas I had, so I killed her.
Yeah, killed her.
Don't need him.
Yeah, and that's because not enough of you were reading the comic. So
He never got better.
no, he's not in the movie. We had to paint him out frame by frame.
Sorry.
So it's no.
Still
You did
made
right.
Ricky record all the lines though.
Yeah. You didn't have to have Zim do that to his corpse, though. That was really not.
I mean, like comics are a visual medium. So.
Yeah, I know, but I don't think that. I'm walking. Okay, never mind. It's fine. What's done is done.
Thank you.
Next, actually, Megan, did you want to speak to going the other way from the comics to the show?
Yeah.
Come on, speak to it.
I guess for the comics, I feel like because I was just inking. I wasn't really writing stories. I wasn't drawing the characters necessarily. Most of my experience working on the comics was I would get home from my day job of a storyboarding internship, and then I would ink pages until 2 in the morning and watching too many cooking shows and just not thinking at all, just inking.
What cooking shows were you watching?
I love Cutthroat Kitchen. It's like Super Mario Party, but for food.
Oh yeah, I've never seen that. Is it like actual, or is there actual like knife fights?
Kind of.
Because that would be cool.
Yeah, it's who is it? Who's the host of that show?
People like bleeding the chicken?
Yeah,
I want to see that.
It's like chopped, but there's obstacles.
By obstacles, do you mean like, like rotating knives in like a Mario type?
Yeah, like
Mario?
That's like actually-
they'll like chain their feet together or make them wear lobster gloves for hands and take their cooking utensils away.
Sounds like Invader Zim Did.
All right, next question. You sir, who's been waiting patiently.
Hello. Yes, I was wondering if there's anything different about doing an Invader Zim cover as opposed to doing any other comic book cover, and if